many of us that's been in the proper movement, whatever you want to call it, survivalist movement, uh, we've seen this thing coming for many years now. And what are we seeing now today? We're seeing supply shortages. We're seeing the breakdown of the just-in-time delivery system that has been reported on for many, many years. And, it's all coming to pass now. I mean, some of the videos that I watch now are so prophetic. I mean, it's just like you watch what people have been saying for years ago, and you finally see it coming to pass. And it is truly shocking. Well, again, this is Boaz here. I'm out on this dreary day. I had to do a quick run in town. And the most important thing that we can do now after you've done your preparedness thing, I think personally, is building relationships and building relationships locally with people that you can trust, people that you can rely on in a time of need. And it's becoming increasingly difficult to find people that are of like mind, people that have it going all the way up. The elevators are going all the way up to the top in their heads. It's very difficult to find people that fit in that category. You got people today that they just ain't there. I can go on and on about that. But one of the things that I've focused on in the past couple of years is building those local relationships. I mean, with the local businesses that are going to be important in a situation where that supply chain is broke down, and you're going to need to, rely on people locally in order to get things that you may not have. I'll give you a perfect example. I mean, I don't have a goat, but I know locally in this area, if I had to walk, I know other farmers and homesteaders that have cattle, that own goats, that own sheep, that own cows, and they'd be more than happy to trade. I mean, we've talked about these kind of things, prior. And it's wonderful to be able to network locally, local businesses, local gun shops, local pawn shops, local lumber mills, anything where it's going to, that's going to provide a resource. Recently, I was cutting down a tree or cutting up a tree, and my chainsaw got caught in a piece of metal. And so I don't have a chainsaw, and then my second chainsaw is down. So, I must have I'm looking at now, at least 20 cords of wood stacked up that I've acquired through cleaning up all of these different properties and just getting this wood, everything from black walnut to oak to white oak to cherry. I mean, I got it all stacked up, but without a chainsaw, I mean, it'd be extremely difficult. I mean, I don't know of a way to go ahead and, cut that up, but I do know that I have a good enough relationship so that if something happened temporarily or even long term, I know where I can get a chainsaw on credit, on store credit. I mean, I know I can go in there and be like, listen here, I need this chainsaw, and I know I can get it. That's the same place that's fixing the chainsaw and that sold me the 2 previous chainsaws. But when you have these kind of relationships, you don't have to worry, because I know they got chainsaws on the shelves, and I know the last thing in the calamity people are going to be running for is chainsaws. But that's, if I had to get one today, I can go ahead and get one. But there's not all of the resources that you may need may not be local. So, these things have to be weighed. I mean, one of the things that I want to do, that I realize, is I want to get a backup chainsaw and a smaller backup, 2 more chainsaws. So I want to have 2 small chainsaws, like a MS-170, something to cut up small branches, and like a MS-250 and 270 chainsaw for the larger stuff that I have. But what I'm going to do is after I get my chainsaw back and they fix it's a little sprocket or something that's inside that they said that they'll have to replace because a little wire got caught up. No problem. They'll go ahead and replace it. I'll get it back probably tomorrow or Monday. But I want to go and get another chainsaw. But there's certain things that you can acquire locally, and there's certain things that you cannot acquire locally. I'm a steel guy myself. Those are the chainsaws that I use. So without one of these things, you're assed out. But, if you waiting on a boat from China to come and drop your stuff off, I mean, you could potentially be screwed. Local tire guy, I mean, they provide all of the tires that I have, and, my tire pressure sensor went off, and I just, went up there and they took a look at it and said, sorry, hey, we patched this tire before. Let's go ahead and repatch it again. They didn't charge me anything. I mean, I was prepared to pay for it, but they put more air in all my tires and fix the tire that they previously fixed, and it wasn't an issue. And in addition to that, I was in there talking to somebody else, got some local business, and then speaking to the owner of the tire shop. He took my business card, was like, hey, man, we need somebody to come in and work on these tiny homes because the tornado cleared out all of these homes, and they're going to be putting people in tiny homes, and they need people that know how to do this kind of work. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But, the idea is that, you're going to have to develop wherever you are, these relationships locally, if you're going to want to survive and thrive, because, we talk about, world without rule of law, the collapse of society, no cops, no energy, Roman bandits, Mad Max society. And, personally, I've come to change my perspective and how I, view how this thing is going to go down. And, what the globalists want is they want control. And you see all of these dystopian movies that they have coming out. It don't seem like they want a collapse. What they want is a collapse of the system where they can control you on the other end. They want to have control over the local police force. I mean, I just now realized or just now learned that they have 100,000 federal police. I didn't know that they had a federal police force, but they have a federal police force that consists of 100,000 police officers. They want control. They don't want complete societal collapse. They want people dependent on them for their housing, their food, their heat, the electric. They want people dependent on them, because if you can get somebody dependent on you for your basic needs, then you got them. See, I mean, you have no sovereignty if someone else is providing you food, shelter, clothing, and all of that stuff. You have no sovereignty. You must do what you are told because you're dependent on government. And one of the things that I love about, being in the country is the freedom mindset that people have where, hey, you stay off my property, I'll stay off of yours. We can work together to, trade and barter. People talking about this kind of stuff already out in the country. And it's important, again, to have those good, healthy, solid relationships. Now, everybody's not going to agree on all things, but, what people agree on, what I've seen is property rights. And, hey, you stay off your property, I'll stay off mine. People out here, they are big on self-sufficiency. Water wells, wood stoves, cattle, growing their own food. These are a good thing, because when you're surrounded by people that have this sort of mindset, it is less likely that you're going to run into problems locally, especially if you live in a local farming community or something like that, where everybody got cattle, everybody got sheep, everybody got goats, everybody got chickens, everybody's doing this stuff. And when, one of the things that we noticed in the Great Depression is the people that survived the most and the people that did best were the people that were self-sufficient. They didn't depend on anybody to provide their subsistence, and their lands were paid for. Again, in this county that I live in the area that I live in, There's not many mortgages on these properties. They've been in the family for generations, and they will continue to stay in the family. There's a lot of people, even in this area, they don't sell their properties. They just sit on it for generation after generation after generation. There's very few for sale for sign listings that I see in this local area over the past since I've been here, 5-6 years. So it's going to be important to develop those local relationships with those businesses locally, with your neighbors locally, because those are the relationships that are going to matter. It's all well and good if somebody has resources, but if they're 200 miles away, it does you no good. So I can't stress it enough. Get to know who's around you. Get to know who your neighbors are. Get to know what they're into. If they're homesteaders, if they, it's interesting, the lady that I worked on our house, and they own a big sprawling house with 20 acres, and my property intersects over the hill with their property. And it's interesting. She works at the local Tractor Supply. She works at, I don't know why she works here, but, I work here just to pass the time. I got nothing else to do. So they work at the local tractor. She works at the local Tractor Supply. But I've been in her house. Man, it's a beautiful home. It's like if that home was in, and they keep horses and stuff, but if that home was in the city, it'd probably go for $500,000-$600,000. And it's probably going for like $300,000 today. But again, that's why it's so important to have a good rapport with your neighbors. Get to know who they are. Get to know who the threats are, if there's any possible threats. Step outside of your comfort zone. Me personally, I'm an introvert, so I don't need to be around a lot of people. But the people that I need to be around, I need to trust and like. But overall, get to know who's around you. It's going to be so important in the upcoming months and years, because if you got bad actors around you, if you got bad people, druggies, people that are on meth and stuff like that, those are going to be where the problems lie. People behaving badly, druggies, people that are unprepared. I mean, if you live in a farming or community where people are pretty much self-sufficient, and these are people that you're going to barter with and do security with. And the security is not going to start at your gate. It's going to start at a local road. That's one road that's coming in and out of that community. And interestingly enough, this area is set up in terms of that way, where there's two roads. All you got to do is shut down two roads, and you can shut out miles and miles around you just by shutting down two different roads at a couple of different intersections. So that's why it's so important just to learn who's around you, learn what they do, and learn to know that, if you're going to be a resource, you're going to be bartering and coordinating with these people in a situation where there's going to be a full-blown type societal collapse. But again, I've wavered on this notion in the past couple of years. I don't know. What do you think? We've talked about it, but I just don't see it. And the interesting thing, during the past 10 years, have you seen things pan out the way that people predicted? Whether it was collapses, wars, silver. Silver is a big one. I'm gonna do a video on that. But it never turns out the way that we think it's going to turn out. But it's good to plan for all contingencies. But I don't know. What do you think?